Good morning. This is the Asylum Answers Show. I'm Brian Manning. I'm an asylum lawyer, and I want to answer your questions about winning asylum in the United States. So, I used to be an asylum officer with the government, with USCIS, but now I'm an asylum lawyer. In my law firm, it's called Political Asylum Lawyers, and we help immigrants all over the country to secure their future in America through asylum. And I want to talk with you about asylum. I want to know what questions you have about winning asylum in the United States. It's Thursday. It's Tuesday. It's Tuesday, November 18th. I'm Brian Manning, and I'm an asylum lawyer, and we're live on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, and Instagram. Hello, how are you guys doing? It's been a minute since we've been live. Uh, Good to see you there. Hello, YouTube. What's going on? TikTok. Desi Boy, Aso, Mulaye, thanks for being here. Good to see you guys. YouTube, hello, hello. Hey, before you start leaving your questions in the comment box, say hello. Love to hear where you guys are at. Let me know where you're watching from. Let me know what country you're from if you're open to sharing that. Love to see where our community is joining us from today and where you guys are from. Hello, hello. For those of you who, hey guys, for those of you who just joined, I'm Brian Manning, asylum lawyer, and my law firm, it's called Political Asylum Lawyers. We're based in Texas, but it doesn't matter where we're based because we help people all over the country, anywhere in the United States, everywhere in the United States to secure their future in America through asylum. Nice. Mulaye says, can I get your phone number, please? I'm in Chicago. Nice. Chi-town. I love Chicago. Great city. For sure. I'm going to put the phone number. Look, honestly, hey, I'm going to put on the screen, Mulaye. This is the best way to reach out, really, is to schedule a consultation. You can do that at winasylum.com. 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 But if you really want to call, you can call. No problem. I'm going to put that number in the chat, 713-909-0401. Mulaye. Yep, give us a call. Hello, we got Brooke says from Ethiopia originally on TikTok. Nice. Nice. Yeah, we've helped a lot of people from Ethiopia, a lot of people from the Horn of Africa. Cool. Very nice. Mohammed, Shireen 23 says hi. Hello, hello. Good to see you. Mohammed, thanks for being on. Glow Whispers or Glow Wipers. Nice. In the UK. Okay, interesting. All right. Berkline says hello on TikTok. Mind Game wants to know, do you only do asylum cases? Good question. And the question is this. So, can my law firm help you with cases that are not asylum cases? Look, I think that you should work with the professional who focuses on the exact problem that you need solved, who specializes in that, okay? And with my law firm, we do asylum. That's what we do all day, every day, okay? We don't do anything else other than we help people get green cards, but only like called adjustment of status, right? But only for asylees, only for people who got asylum and now they're applying for their green card. Um, Based off of that, we help them to get green cards, but we don't do any other cases. We don't do family-based immigration. We don't do investment or employment-based immigration. We're really focused on asylum. That's what we do all day, every day, and I think we've gotten pretty good at it. That's something that I think you should keep in mind when working with professionals. Is you want to be with the person who is laser focused on solving the exact problem that you need solved. All right. Wiz Love says, can you leave your number? Sure. I'm putting it on the screen, but also I can type it again in the chat. I just put it in the chat a second ago. Wiz Love, I just put it in the chat. Okay. 713-909-0401. All right. Okay. My love on TikTok says, hey, Brian, they scheduled me for a second interview. I don't know what to do. I'm so scared. All right. Look, I'm sorry to hear that, but here's the thing. Here's the question is this. Why would USCIS schedule you for a follow-up asylum interview? Well, look, first of all, it's not uncommon. This happens a lot, okay? It doesn't necessarily mean there's a problem with your case. Some to be frank and honest with you, sometimes it is. Sometimes they discover things that that give them concerns, and they want to ask you about them, and it could mean there's a kind of a problem with your case. But sometimes it's not. Okay, sometimes it's completely innocent. Sometimes it's as simple as the officer just forgot to ask you a couple required questions, or their supervisor looks at the notes and says, "Oh, I think you should have asked him about this other thing too." And so they just need to call you back in to ask you a few more questions, but it doesn't necessarily mean there's a problem in your case. Okay. So look, I mean, the good news is it's not that it's like necessarily a bad thing or a bad sign. It doesn't mean you're automatically going to lose or anything. It might still be fine. Okay. It might be fine. All right. Um, good luck. YouTube, what's going on? We got Yilin Ong says from San Jose, California. Good to see you, Yilin. Thanks for being here out in San Jose. We got Aksohi says hi. Nice. Good to see you, Aksohi. USA 24 Bangla says hi, sir. Good morning from Los Angeles. Nice. A lot of folks out in California. Early morning for you guys still out there. I love California, by the way. Nice. We got Kent Bummer M says on YouTube, hey, Brian, I won my assignment interview a few months ago thanks to your videos. Nice. Awesome. Congratulations. I'm super happy to hear that for you. That's great news. And thank you for mentioning that you benefited from our YouTube videos. That's awesome. I'm now applying for the green card. How do I get a religious exemption for the vaccine rule? My case was religious as well. That's something we'd have to, it's too complicated to address really, Kent, in a video like this. Yeah, we'd have to talk about it in a consultation. All right. But congratulations on winning Asylum. That's great news. I'm really glad to hear it. And for those of you who are watching right now on platforms other than YouTube, look, I encourage you to go to YouTube. The other platforms are not going to like the fact that I'm saying this right now. It's probably going to push my views way down. But that's where my best stuff is. Okay. On YouTube, we've got some really detailed videos, a lot of trainings and tutorials and just updates and all kinds of things that are really detailed. And I think are going to help you to increase your chances for asylum success. So if you want all my best stuff, go to YouTube. Go to YouTube and search for Political Asylum Lawyers. That's the name of my law firm. And it's also the name of our YouTube channel, Political Asylum Lawyers on YouTube. Check it out. All right. SA or Sam says, hey, sir, thanks for your help and time. You're welcome. My pleasure. It's my pleasure. All right. Nice. Okay. Okay, cool. Oh, nice. Afia on TikTok says, watch his training I did and I was successful. Nice. Awesome. Congratulations, Afia. That's great. All right. What do you want to know about winning asylum in the United States? Instagram. Hello, Vasviki. Good to see you. Kubian, Mariana. Thank you for being here. Gracias por estar aquí. Katarib. Good to see you. I'm Brian Manning. I'm an asylum lawyer. My law firm is called Political Asylum Lawyers, and we help immigrants all over the country to secure their future in America through asylum. So let me know what questions you have about winning asylum in the United States. Nice. Nice. Are we still doing the preparation? Oh yeah, absolutely, for sure. Look, if you want to be as prepared for your asylum interview as possible, you need to practice. Okay, you need to do a preparation program. All right. Look, when I was an asylum officer, I was actually pretty shocked at just how unprepared most asylum applicants were, including those with lawyers. I thought, for sure, if they have a lawyer, the lawyer should be preparing them. They should come in knowing what to expect, having practiced their story, able to articulate it, able to answer, difficult questions. But that wasn't the case at all. People really, really, really struggled, including those with lawyers. And I found out that most lawyers don't do anything. Most lawyers do virtually nothing to really prepare their clients for their asylum interview. They'll say, oh, don't worry about it. Yeah, we'll show up like 10 minutes before the interview. I'll tell you at that time what to expect and the questions. Don't worry, it'll be fine. Friends, it's not fine. That is not enough. Your asylum interview is going to be much more difficult than you expect. You see, the officer doesn't just let you sort of explain yourself and tell your story. Rather, they're going to ask you question after question after question after question. They're constantly interrupting you. They're changing topics frequently. And the truth is, there's a lot of officers who are just straight up anti-immigrant, and they're just looking for excuses to deny you. Okay. And they're going to play little word games with you. and they're going to they're going to make it hard on you. Okay, you need to practice. You need to prepare. You need to go into it with a strategy. The most important part of your entire asylum case is exactly this. It's preparing for your asylum interview. It's doing practice. And we offer a service that is exactly this: asylum interview preparation. Look, the best thing, in my opinion, the best way to maximize your chances for success in your asylum case is to hire a good asylum lawyer from beginning to end, right? For the whole case. But I recognize that that's not an option for everyone. It may be an issue of money, of cost, because look, it's expensive to hire a lawyer for a full case. We charge $10,000 for an affirmative asylum case. By the way, our fees are going up in January, so keep that in mind. Um, it's expensive, right? It's not an option for everyone. We get that. Sometimes it's a matter of time. Like, you may already have your interview scheduled. And if your interview is coming up, 10 days from now, we don't have time to do everything we want to do in your case. We don't have time to do the paperwork. We don't have time to work with you on a declaration, evidence, legal brief. And we probably don't have time to represent you during the interview either, because we have to make that notification with at least 7 days notice to USCIS in order to appear in your case. Okay. So, whatever the reason may be, we realized that we could still add value even if you can't hire us for your full case. What we can do is the preparation. We can do this on short notice. We can do it with just a few days before your interview, and it costs a fraction of what it costs to hire us for full-scale representation. So we offer this special service, a standalone service called the Mock Asylum Interview Experience. This is our preparation service, okay, where we help people prepare for their asylum interview, okay? And you can learn all about it on this website, asylumprep.com, ASYLUMPREP.com, all right? Asylumprep.com. That's where you can learn on this webpage all about this service. There's a video at the top that I encourage you to click on to watch the video, and then it's like a super long webpage down below with all kinds of information about this service and what it consists of and how we think it can help you. Okay. Asylumprep.com is where you can find this. Go to asylumprep.com. If you've got an interview already scheduled, definitely please go there right away. But even if you don't, we can still do this. We can still do the preparation now, even before your interview is scheduled. And I recommend that you do it now before your interview gets scheduled, because once your interview gets scheduled, you're going to be stressed. It's going to be hard to keep up with things, hard to get everything done that you need to get done. So you go now to asylumprep.com. All right. Okay, let's get back to the questions. What are my options if my dad doesn't speak English well? His interviews next month. Genevieve wants to know. Genevieve. The question is this: what do you do if you don't speak English so well? How do you handle your interview? Well, you should use interpretation. Look, you have the right to use interpretation during your interview. Now, the government does not do it for you. They don't pay for it, and they don't provide an interpreter for you. You have to bring your own interpreter. Like, they have to physically come with you. They won't let you call someone on the phone and have them interpret via phone. They have to be there physically present with you in person. My strong advice is that unless you feel extremely comfortable in English, like you speak it very fluently, then you should use interpretation. If it's a borderline case where you're like, oh, I'm pretty good at English, I think maybe I'll just do that. No, if you're just pretty good, don't do English. Don't do English. Speak in your native language and bring an interpreter with you, a professional interpreter. It's important to have high-level interpretation. I've seen cases lost before because of poor interpretation. Use a professional interpreter who has experience at the asylum office. Okay? All right. Phone number? Yeah. Phone number is 713. Oops, that's the URL. 713. I'm going to put it in the chat. 713-909-0401. 713-909-0401. That's where you can call us. We want to talk. Yeah, we want to see what's going on. In an asylum strategy session, we'll get to know you. We'll get to understand your case. We're going to ask you a lot of questions to really go deep and understand your situation. All right. And then we'll tell you what we think. If we think that we can help you, we're going to tell you how. We're going to explain exactly what we would do to give you the best possible chance of securing your future in America through asylum. We're going to explain it in detail. A lot of lawyers that you call will say, "Don't worry about it. We'll help you. We'll make your case better," but they won't explain how because they don't have a strategy. Most lawyers don't have a strategy. We have a framework. We have a 3-step asylum action plan that we use. It's what we've constructed thanks to my experience working as uh, an asylum officer with the government and now as an asylum lawyer. We have an actual plan and framework that we use in addressing cases, and we've been perfecting it, and we think it's really good now. All right. Uh, nice. So he says, my attorney asks for the reschedule of my appointment. Is it fine to reschedule it? Good question. And the question is this: is there any risk or downside to rescheduling your asylum interview with USCIS? So look, if you have an emergency, something that you really, that, is like a true emergency, then sure, of course, it's understandable to seek to have your interview rescheduled. But if it's not a true emergency, I wouldn't do it. Why? Because there's a chance it might not get rescheduled for a long time. Now, usually they do reschedule it pretty quickly after you've asked for a reschedule. Usually it's scheduled for a new date in the next few weeks or at least next couple months. But sometimes cases fall through the cracks. They get forgotten about, and it might be several months or even years until you get your interview. And that's bad, in my opinion. In my opinion, the sooner you get your interview and your decision, the better your chances for success. So if you have to reschedule, you're taking the risk that your case could be one of those that falls through the cracks and gets forgotten about, and you might not get your interview for many months or even years, which I think is bad for your case. So try to avoid rescheduling. Okay, try to avoid rescheduling. Go to your interview. Is AAAA wants to know, hey Brian, is Seattle a good city for an asylum interview? The question is this: is Seattle a good place to have your affirmative asylum interview with USCIS? Yes, it is. Look, Seattle doesn't have its own asylum office, but it's under the jurisdiction of the San Francisco Asylum Office. And San Francisco sends officers to Seattle to conduct interviews in Seattle at the USCIS, what they call the field office. And because it's under Chicago, an officer who's not Chicago, San Francisco. It's under San Francisco, an officer who's coming from San Francisco. That's good in the sense that San Francisco usually has the highest approval rate of all the asylum offices most years. So yeah, it's good. So Seattle, if you're having your interview in Seattle, it means it's actually with San Francisco, which is good. So yeah, it's good. All right. Ere says best regards. Nice. Thanks. Good to see you on here. Uh, okay. Good questions. Good questions. Do I know the processing times of military parole in place? No, I don't. I don't know that. We really just focus on asylum. That's what we're doing all day, every day. So if you have questions about asylum, great. If not, then I would say talk with a lawyer who focuses on other types of immigration case, like family-based immigration lawyers are the ones that would likely know about military parole in place. Okay. Why was my essay wants to know why is my asylum why did my status change from decision pending to application pending? Good question. The question is this: why would your status in your My USCIS account change from interview from decision pending to application pending? That doesn't make sense, right? If you had your interview and then it says, okay, you've had your interview, so now your decision is pending, why would it then go back to application pending? You applied for asylum a long time ago. Because the system is broken and it makes these kinds of errors all the time. That's why. It almost certainly has nothing to do with your actual case. It almost certainly means nothing for your actual case. Almost certainly your decision is still pending and you're not going to have to do another interview and you're not going to have to apply again. That's for sure. So look, this is not uncommon. This happens a lot, that the My USCIS status indicator just throws up random things and changes for no reason. It's wrong very often. So don't worry about it. Okay. Don't worry about it. All right. What's the best time to talk to us over the phone? You would call and schedule a consultation. Actually, the best way to schedule a consultation is to go to winasylum.com. 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 Okay. That's where you can schedule the consultation, and there's select shows are of my team's availability of when they can meet with you, and you just select one that works for you, and you pay $97 to book the consultation, and then you'll meet with one of my team members at that time by video conference. All right. Islam wants to know, can I change my asylum story? Yes or no? Interesting question, and the question is uh, this. Can you change your asylum story? Well, look, you should tell the truth. All right. I recommend that you be honest and open and transparent. Always tell the truth. Honesty is the best policy. So if you said something that was not accurate, then yeah, you should change it to tell the truth. Um, if you're asking whether it's okay to just add more information, well, this is a tricky question. Pretty much always people in their application and in their declaration, they tell their story, but they don't include every single detail they could possibly include, and they wonder, okay, is it okay later during my interview to talk about things, maybe some details that weren't mentioned in the application or declaration? And the answer to that is yes. Yeah, anything that's relevant to your case or that the officer asks about, you should answer honestly and openly, okay, even if it wasn't included in your application or your declaration previously. All right. Remember, the key here, though, is honesty is the best policy. Tell the truth. All right. Is it safe to travel with a refugee travel document these days? I already have asylum. Texas Longhorns. Hook'em wants to know 101. More or less, pretty much. Look, there's always at least a little bit of risk in leaving the country without citizenship. I think the risk is pretty low. If they go to, if they don't, as long as they don't go back to their home country and they have a refugee travel document, I think the risk of problems is low. As long as they've never had any kind of legal problems here in the United States, then I think the risk is low enough that I would do it, or I would tell my family, yeah, I think it's okay to go. All right. Loli Loza wants to know on TikTok, is it true that USCIS is not approving cases and instead is sending them all to court? The good question. The question is this. Is it true that USCIS is just sending all cases straight to court, not approving anyone? No, it's not true. Look, it's true that it's hard to win asylum. It's true that USCIS does deny or refer a majority of cases to court. That's definitely true. But it's not impossible to win. We keep winning, all right? It seems like almost every day that we're getting a new approval notice for one of our clients, another family whose life has changed, and they get certainty and confidence around their future because they get to stay safe and stay here because they won asylum. It's not impossible, including at USCIS. We keep winning cases. It's not impossible. It's hard. It's hard. And I think it's only going to get harder with every passing month that this administration is in power. I think the approval rate is going to keep going down, but it's not impossible. We keep winning. We're going to keep winning. So keep the faith, all right? Keep the faith. If you want to talk with us about it and see if we might be able to help you, go to winasylum.com, 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 all right? We have this question. SA says, how to make a consultation appointment? Go to winasylum.com online. Type in WINASYLUM.com and hit enter. Go to winasylum.com. That's where you schedule a consultation. Okay. France wants to know, can you apply 4 years for asylum? You mean apply after you've already been here for 4 years? Good question. The question is this. Can you still apply for asylum if you've been in the United States already for several years, let's say 3-4 years? I mean, the answer is you can definitely apply. It's going to be hard for most people. It's going to be hard to win because of the 1-year filing deadline. There's this rule that says that normally you need to apply during your first year in the United States. If you don't do that, you won't win. You'll be denied unless you qualify for an exception. There's 2 categories of exceptions. It's called the extraordinary circumstances exception and the changed circumstances exception. Now, this is a complicated area within asylum law. that you should definitely talk with an asylum lawyer with. Look, if you're afraid of being harmed in your country, um, and you're thinking about applying for asylum, I think you should talk with an asylum lawyer. You should definitely talk with one though if you've been here for more than a year, so you can talk through with them whether you might qualify for an exception and whether it makes sense to apply. So, I mean, the short answer is it may still be possible. There are people that have been here for several years and still win asylum despite their applying after having been here for several years because they do qualify for an exception. It's not uncommon. We help people win these cases a lot. So we should talk. I hope you'll schedule a consultation. Go to winasylum.com, WINASYLUM.com, winasylum.com. Tafach wants to know, what does DHS know about the interviewee? Good question. The question is this: what does the government know about you in your asylum case? So if you've got an asylum interview with USCIS or a hearing in immigration court, what does the government know about you in your background, your history, and all of that? Well, look, I mean, they have databases, right? Especially about criminal related information, especially if it happened in the United States. There's a very good chance that they will know about it. If you had legal trouble abroad, it's less likely, but there are some cases where they do still have that information. They do sometimes check your social media to see what kind of things you've been posting publicly. And there are other ways that they sometimes get information. So you need to go into it thinking or assuming that they probably know a lot about you. They probably know all about you. Okay. That's how you should approach it, because you'd be surprised. There are a lot of things they know. Look, they're not all knowing. They don't know everything, but there's definitely a chance that they would have come across any derogatory information about you. So you should go into it assuming that they do know and deal with it appropriately. Be honest and open about it, but think ahead of time about how to explain whatever it is that needs explaining. But be honest and direct. All right. Uh, okay. Loli says, I applied 3 years ago, uh, and they told me my case was okay, but I need to go to court. Where was that exactly? Where was that question? Oh, I need to go ask a judge for forgiveness. Well, Loli, if you're talking about an asylum case, and you applied with USCIS and they said, oh no, you have to go to immigration court, that means you lost at USCIS. It means that they denied you, basically. So look, the question is this: what does it mean when USCIS says, "Oh, we're not denying you, but rather we're just transferring or referring your case over to the immigration court"? This is not a denial. What does that really mean? Look, in the referral notice letter that you get after your affirmative asylum interview with USCIS, where it's a negative decision, it says this is not a denial. Basically, they're trying to act like, "Oh, it's not a denial. Don't worry. It's just another step in the process." That's misleading. It effectively is a denial. It means that the asylum officer decided you do not qualify for asylum. They denied you, effectively. Okay. You're now in deportation proceedings. So it's really much more serious than people think. They're like, oh no, they said it wasn't a denial. I've just got to go now to this other phase in immigration court. No. USCIS decided you don't qualify. And the government is now trying to deport you. You are in deportation proceedings. And if you don't succeed in immigration court, you're going to get a deportation order. So it's actually really serious. It's not good. The good news, though, is that it's not impossible to win at this stage. You can lose at the asylum office, but then still win in immigration court. We help people do this all the time. So if you want to talk about possibly getting help with this, we'd love to talk with you. You can schedule a consultation with my team at winasylum.com. Go to WINASYLUM.com, winasylum.com. Okay. Biniam wants to know, hey, Ryan, is a G1 visa diplomatic subject to the 1-year asylum deadline? Well, do you know I used to be a diplomat, Biniam? Yeah, I was a diplomat for 8.5 years. The answer is that it can be an exception to the 1-year filing deadline. If you called maintenance of status, if you've, let me address it like this. The question is this: what's the maintenance of status exception to the 1-year filing deadline? How does that work? Look, there's two categories, two broad categories of exceptions to the 1 year filing deadline. One of them is called the extraordinary circumstances exception, and anything that is an extraordinary circumstance that makes it such that you shouldn't have been expected, you can't have been expected reasonably to have applied for asylum during your first year, so you kind of have an excuse, and it's okay to file late. Um, Anything that's an extraordinary circumstance can count, can as long as you make the argument adequately, can qualify. But there's also a list of things in the regulations that say these things do count for sure as an extraordinary circumstance. And one of the things in that list is referred to as maintenance of status, which basically says if you have had legal immigration status the whole time you've been in the United States, and you have it at the time that you file, that counts as an extraordinary circumstance such that you get around the 1 year filing deadline. So the bottom line, the important part is this: if you've had legal status, immigration status, the whole time you've been here, you will qualify for an exception to the 1 year filing deadline. So it's okay if you file later, whether it's after you've been here for a year and a half, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. There's people who have been here for 7, 8 years, on student status. They come and do undergrad, then they get a PhD, and they're here for like 10 years, and they've had legal status the whole time. Well, they could apply for asylum and get around the 1 year filing deadline, despite that they've been here for many years. All right. All right. Nice, nice. For those of you who just joined, I'm Brian Manning, and I'm an asylum lawyer. My law firm is called Political Asylum Lawyers, and we help immigrants all over the country, all over, to secure their future in America through asylum. All right. If you want to talk with my team in a consultation, we would love to see what's going on, get to know you, understand your situation, talk about your goals, and tell you whether we think that we're in a position to support you. If we think that we are, then we're going to tell you how. We're going to explain exactly what we would do to give you the best possible chance of winning your case, of securing your future in America through asylum. All right. How long does it take to get the social security number after applying? How does it work? The question is this: how do you get a social security card and social security number after applying for asylum, and how long does it take? Look, when you apply for a work permit for your what they call employment authorization document, EAD for its initials, on that application form, there's a line that says, I also want to apply for a social security card. And you just check the box to say, yes, I want to do that. And then that's how you apply for the social security card. Okay. It's through the work permit application. And after you send that in, it usually takes about a month and a half to 2 months, maybe. Usually you get that usually you get the work permit card in the mail, and then usually 2 or 3 weeks later you get the social security card in the mail. Okay, that's how it works. All right. How long are interview decisions taking to come out currently? Good question. The question is this: how long are you going to have to wait after your asylum interview to get the decision in your case? It depends. Look, unfortunately it's really impossible to tell you with any kind of certainty. USCIS does not publish statistics around this, so we can just go by sort of what we've seen in my law firm and what I hear from other people. And look, I would say on average it's probably like 6 weeks maybe, but it really ranges. I mean, it can be as little as 2 weeks, but then sometimes for some people it takes many weeks or months or even years. Okay. There's really no way to predict this with any confidence. I mean, the only way in which you could say, oh, I think I know how long it's going to take, is if at your interview they tell you to come back to pick up the decision in person. Then it would be 2 weeks. Like they'll ask you to come back 2 weeks after the interview to pick up your decision in person. Okay. But if it's a mail out, if they say, oh, no, don't come back, we're going to mail it to you, then all bets are off. It's impossible to predict, unfortunately. It's going to be at least a few weeks. It's going to be at least 2 weeks, probably several weeks, maybe much more, unfortunately. All right. All right. Okay. Islam says the problem is that I did not submit my asylum story myself, nor did I submit it through a lawyer. Um, yeah, you need to. I recommend that you hire a lawyer. That you talk with a lawyer about how to address this because that's you're in a tricky spot. It's not impossible to win. Like I assume what you're saying is they lied, like they made up stuff. It's not impossible to win after you've submitted lies, but you really got to be careful about it and really be strategic in explaining what happened and why it happened and coming clean and telling the truth. You should tell the truth. Honesty is the best policy. All right. We've had clients before that hired us after they submitted lies. A previous lawyer had encouraged them to lie, and they lied about something really important, and they got caught before they hired us. They got caught in the lie, and USCIS said, "We think you're lying. We want you to come back in for a follow-up interview." And we said, "Look, we can't help you unless you agree to come clean. You have to be totally honest, and we'll only represent you if you agree that we're going to go tell the officer that you lied and you're going to admit it and you're going to beg for forgiveness and tell the truth." Basically is what we did. And he won. We still won. Okay. Even though he had got caught lying about something really important, a citizenship, like he didn't reveal that he had, he still won. Okay. It's honesty is the best policy. You need to talk though with a lawyer, I think, to be strategic about how to address this. Do we on YouTube fairs or Fridays? LMU wants to know: do you take atheist asylum cases? Yeah, absolutely. We've had a lot of success with those. All right, we should talk. Okay. All right. Nice. St. Clair de Mabu says, "Hey Brian, thank you so much for what you do. My asylum was approved last month. Arlington office. Your videos helped me a lot. Awesome. That's awesome. I'm so glad to hear that. Congratulations. That's a life-changing event, as you know, right? Now you've got confidence, you've got certainty about your future, right? And that's priceless, right? Sinclair, Sinclair wants to know, how much do you charge for a green card application based on asylum? Let me check. There's some government fees, right? But our attorney fees are $5,000 for that, with payment plans available. All right. All right. J Sisty 133 on YouTube says, "Is it okay to go to your master hearing by yourself and tell the judge, 'Hey, I'm looking for a lawyer to represent me. What do you recommend me to say?'" Good question. The question is this: if you don't yet have a lawyer, but you're thinking that you want to hire one, but you have a master calendar hearing coming up in immigration court, what should you do? How do you handle that? Well, look, I think the best thing to do is try to hire the lawyer ahead of it, with time, such that they can actually represent you during it. But if you can't make that happen, then if you show up to the court hearing, if you say, "Judge, I'm looking for a lawyer. Can we please reschedule this hearing to give me a little more time to get a lawyer?" The judge will almost certainly say yes the first time that you ask for that. Okay. However, you should know that it will stop your EAD clock if you've already applied for asylum, and fewer than 180 days have passed since you applied for asylum. If you ask for your master calendar hearing to be rescheduled to give you more time to look for a lawyer, that will stop your clock. It'll freeze it at wherever it is, and that clock won't resume counting until you end up having your master calendar hearing, which could be several months from now or even years, honestly. So keep that in mind. If you've already got your work permit, then that's not an issue. Or if you've already reached 180 days post application, then that's not an issue. But something to keep in mind if you've already applied, but it's been fewer than 180 days since you applied. Okay. Best thing though is try to get a lawyer now. Okay. In fact, if you get a lawyer now, you might be able to skip the master calendar hearing. Okay. So the question is this: so why should you hire an asylum lawyer well ahead of your master calendar hearing? Look, people sometimes, first of all, people think, oh, it's the first hearing, the master calendar hearing. That's the one that's not so important. I don't need a lawyer for that. I'll wait till the individual hearing, the main one, and I'll hire a lawyer for that one. Well, look, It's true that usually the master calendar hearing goes smoothly and is not really substantive in nature. Rather, it's more so administrative. But listen, sometimes important things do come up, things that have a real impact and can mean the difference between winning and losing your case. So you should have a lawyer. But look, another reason why it makes sense to hire an asylum lawyer with at least like a couple months before of time remaining before that in the master calendar hearing is that your lawyer may be able to get that master calendar hearing canceled, to get it, to do away with it, to not have to go to it at all, and to be able to just skip straight to the individual hearing, the main one. That's what we usually do for our clients. We ask to not do the master calendar hearing. We just do everything on paper that we would normally do in person on the day of that master calendar hearing. And we send it into the judge on paper, and we send a motion that says, hey, judge, look, we already did everything on paper that we would do in person. Therefore, there's no need to come in person. Can you please accept this? And then just go ahead and cancel that master calendar hearing and go ahead and schedule the individual hearing. And usually they say yes. And that's good, I think, in most cases, because it speeds the whole process up. And the sooner you get your decision, the better your chances for success. Remember that. Ferris Helmy says, I'll call you after this live. Don't wait. Call us right now. You don't need to wait. You don't need to wait till the end of this live. Call us now, or you can call the number on the screen, 713-909-0401. Or actually, the best way to schedule the consultation is go directly. Go to winasylum.com. WINASYLUM.com. That's winasylum.com. That's where you can schedule a consultation, or what we call an asylum strategy session with one of our asylum professionals. All right. We want to get to know you, understand your situation, understand your case, and see if we're in a position to help you. If we think that we can, we're going to explain how, okay, and give you detail about exactly what it looks like to go through our asylum action plan and how we think that can help you maximize your chances for asylum success. Okay. All right. Do we have an Arabic translator? No, we don't, but it's okay. Like we get it done with people who speak Arabic. You could bring a friend or family member or a professional interpreter to help you with your initial consultation. And then for our practice sessions where we do the practice before your asylum interview. But other than that, we do everything else, online by email, and online, to where it doesn't really, you don't need, we can use it. We can use translator tools for that. That's easy. All right. But for the initial consultation and then for our practice sessions, you would need to bring an interpreter for those. But that can be someone who, a friend or family member who speaks both languages well. Okay. We do it all the time. We help people with all kinds of different languages like this. Okay. Don't let that stop you. Don't let that stop you. All right. All right. Since February 2023, I'm waiting for my decision. Should I sue USCIS? The question here is, when did you apply? When did you apply? I will then be able to answer that question of whether you should sue. All right. Let me know what month and year did you apply for asylum? Galad Ali says, is there a heroism privilege if you're an asylum seeker and you saved American lives? Interesting question. Good question. The question is this: will it help your asylum case if you've done really good things for the United States or for Americans? Like if you've, started a business and you employ Americans, or maybe overseas in your country, you worked as an interpreter for the U.S. military, in Afghanistan or something, or maybe you even saved American lives. No, none of that helps you. Look, okay, maybe a tiny bit, just like psychologically or subconsciously, it might help a tiny bit in the back of the officer's mind. I mean, it can't hurt, right? It could only make a positive impression, but it definitely is not a formal plus in your favor. It does not formally help you in any way whatsoever. Okay. You don't get like bonus points. It doesn't count as like a positive factor in the asylum eligibility analysis. The officer doesn't care about that stuff. They care about, do you meet the strict asylum eligibility requirements? That's what they want to know about. Okay. So, look, I mean, don't go out of your way to try to talk a bunch about that. Instead, you need to work on articulating your case around how you meet the asylum eligibility requirements. And the way to do that is through practice and strategic practice with an asylum lawyer. And we do that through what we call the mock asylum interview experience, which is our preparation program, intensive preparation program that we have for asylum seekers. And you can find out about this, lots of information about this at asylumprep.com. Go to ASYLUMPREP.com, asylumprep.com. Go to asylumprep.com. Okay. All right. Okay. So SA, you applied in December 2022. No, I think you should. Well, let me rephrase that. You might have success with a mandamus lawsuit suing them to force your decision. We wouldn't take the case though. We only take cases like this where the person's been waiting 5 years, where you applied 5 years ago or more. Okay. All right. Nice, nice. Hello, hello. Uh, okay. Yilenong wants to know, hey, Brian, how long will it take to get the decision after the interview through mandamus lawsuit? It's been 1 month. Good question. And the question is this: how long does it take to get your decision after your asylum interview when you got that interview through a mandamus lawsuit? And usually it's really fast. Look, this is another benefit of the mandamus lawsuit is that not only does it get your interview quickly, but you also get the decision quickly. Because you see, people who do their interview outside of the mandamus process, they very often have to wait months or even years to get a decision. But with the mandamus lawsuit, you keep the pressure on the government to move quickly. So honestly, usually it's like 2 weeks. Usually most of our clients get their decision within about 2 weeks after the interview, if we got that interview through the mandamus lawsuit. Okay. Right now, because of the government shutdown that just ended, it's probably going to take a little bit longer. The judges like basically put a pause on all these lawsuits, on most of these lawsuits during the government shutdown, such that the pressure was kind of lifted off the government, and not much was happening. So it's probably going to take a little bit longer for people that are in this position right now, owing to the recent government shutdown. But it'll still be pretty quick. It's still, Yalen, it should still be in the next few weeks. All right. Okay. Ernesto on YouTube says, Brian, I lost my status on November 7th. TPSiano, cierto? After my TPS ended, was it a mistake to wait until it ended to submit my asylum? Good question. The question is this: when should people who have status apply for asylum, assuming they want to apply for asylum? Look, there's a lot of people that have temporary protected status or who had it until recently, and they're afraid to go back to their country. And they just never, though, got around to applying for asylum. And now they're thinking, like, okay, should I apply? Can I apply? If so, when for asylum? I mean, the answer is you should talk with an asylum lawyer about this, because it's tricky. It's a tricky area of the law of trying to discern what the implications of the 1 year filing deadline might be in any given case, depending on the actual facts of your case. What I can tell you that is true across the board is that if someone had legal immigration status the whole time that they were here, like you came in on a tourist status and then you got TPS while you still had that tourist status, and you had TPS, and then you applied for asylum right before TPS ended or within a couple months of it ending, you'll almost certainly be okay with respect to the 1 year filing deadline. This is because of what we call the maintenance of status exception, which actually falls under the extraordinary circumstances exceptions to the 1 year filing deadline. But it's tricky. It's a complicated area of law. We should talk. Let's talk. Ernesto, tenemos bueno, hablamos español. Puede consultar la consulta aquí en asiloahora.com. Otra vez, Ernesto, asiloahora.com. Asiloahora.com. All right. All right. J Sisthi133 wants to know, with what's occurring right now between the USA and Venezuela's Maduro and the military presence, has helped Venezuelans obtain asylum? No. Um, no. No, it doesn't help. And in fact, if Maduro falls, I think it will hurt. I made a video about this. Si usted vaya a mi canal de YouTube, Asilo Aprobado se llama. En YouTube busque Asilo Aprobado. Tenemos un video sobre ese tema exactamente. Okay. Short answer is, I think if Maduro falls, it's going to lead to a lot of asylum denials because the officer is going to say, "Oh, Maduro's gone. You should be fine. You should be safe now," as a political dissident. When in reality, I imagine it's probably going to be a very unstable situation for some time, if not for a very long time, where people who are considered to be opponents of the current government will still be at risk, perhaps at grave risk, perhaps even worse, graver risk than now. But I think a lot of officers will just say, "Oh, Pesuv is gone. You're okay. You should be fine," and they'll deny asylum because of that. So it's tricky. It's a tough situation. That's just another reason of one of many reasons why I believe that if you have applied for asylum 5 years or more ago, that you should talk with a lawyer about a mandamus lawsuit to try to force your interview now in your decision and get it as soon as possible. Because right now, things are still bad in Venezuela. In a few months, if Maduro's gone, they may be bad still or even worse, but they might look better in the eyes of an asylum officer. It's like, "Oh, Maduro's gone. You should be fine. You don't need asylum." Okay. Are asylum decisions delayed due to the government shutdown? No, decisions in an asylum case should not be delayed because USCIS didn't shut down. The prosecutors from the assistant U.S. attorney's offices or the U.S. attorney's offices did shut down, or at least they weren't working on this during the shutdown. So no, the mandamus stuff was slowed down during the shutdown, but normal interview processing was not. All right. If I applied for asylum in the process by a rental property in my home country, would I be denied asylum? It's a rental property. Jason wants to know. Probably not. I don't think it will be a problem. Especially at the asylum office, it will not be a problem. In court, there may be some judges who are like, "Oh, you're availing yourself to your country's jurisdiction by doing that," and like, therefore you must not be afraid. Therefore, you don't need asylum. Like, it could be viewed as a negative factor in immigration court. I say with high confidence that it will have no impact at all with USCIS. Immigration court, I think it's a low risk of it being viewed negatively, but there is maybe a little bit of risk. All right. J Siste133, déjenos hablar. Más de la mitad de nuestros clientes son venezolanos. Hemos tenido mucho éxito con venezolanos. Conocemos este caso muy bien. Okay. Asiloahorro.com. All right. Yeah, for those of you who just recently joined, I'm Brian Manning. I'm an asylum lawyer. I used to be an asylum officer with the government, but now, as an asylum lawyer, my law firm helps immigrants all over the country, all over, to secure their future in America through asylum. All right. If I apply for a work permit, how long will it take to get my documents? It's usually fast for first time applicants, meaning you applied for asylum, you become eligible to apply for your work permit, and the first time that you do that, they usually issue it quickly, like a little over a month. Usually it's like 4 to 6 weeks after applying that you actually get the work permit card in the mail. Okay. Nice. Plus asylum approval rating. If you're talking way under 50%, the approval rate is in Chicago, I would guess is 30%, 35% maybe, as where the national average is, I'm pretty sure, below 20%. But again, USCIS hasn't published these statistics in a long time, so we don't know for sure. But Chicago is pretty good in terms of your options for, where the asylum case could be. All right. All right. Uh, okay. Nice. Eric wants to know, do Colombians still have a good chance to win affirmative asylum based on guerrilla persecution in Miami asylum office compared to other offices? Well, Colombians have never had a good chance. First of all, there's yeah, there's never been a good chance for Colombians to win. Colombians, unfortunately, Eric, have a pretty low approval rate. Okay. Miami, no, Miami's bad. Miami's a very tough place to win. So yeah, sorry to not have better news, but it's going to be a tough to win um, as a Colombian in Miami. It's going to be very tough to win. It's not impossible. We've done it. We've helped Colombians with similar cases to what it sounds like you probably have win in Miami. We have a lot of clients in Miami. Like half our clients, no, not half. Half of them are in Houston. Maybe a third of our clients are in Miami. Muchos venezolanos, pero colombianos también. Um, Eric, I have a YouTube channel in Spanish. It's Asilo Aprobado. All right. If you want to check that out, Asilo Aprobado. Okay. So he says, my attorney's not available on the day of my interview, so that's why I'm asking for a reschedule. Honestly, I wouldn't reschedule Aksohi. I would get another lawyer to represent you during it. I would hire another lawyer. Um, maybe if you're already paying your current lawyer to like, and that's one of the things that you're paying them for is to represent you during the interview. I would say, hey, could you please find someone else to represent me on that day? Another lawyer. Or look, if you want to work with us, we could take over from here and do the preparation and the representation. Um, Most lawyers like it when we do preparation. So like, this is an important point for everyone. You can keep your current lawyer and still hire my law firm for preparation. Okay. You can hire us just for preparation and keep your lawyer as the lawyer who actually shows up at your interview. That's fine. Most lawyers like it when their clients hire us for preparation because we prepare you well. We'll get you ready for the interview and you'll do a better job and have a better chance of winning your case. And when you win your case, they look good too. So they usually like it when people hire us to do the preparation. In other words, you can hire us for preparation and still keep your current lawyer if you want to. Okay. As long as, I would ask your lawyer, I would tell your lawyer about that. Be like, hey, I'm considering, hiring Brian's company to prepare me, this former asylum officer who has this preparation program. Um, but I'm going to keep you as my lawyer, but I'm going to have them do a mock interview, a debrief session, and give me some other tools to prepare. Then, they usually are happy about that. Go to asylumprep.com if you want to learn about this process, this program that we have. Okay. JB wants to know, why don't Colombians have a good chance at asylum? Because many asylum officers believe that to the extent that you may be persecuted, that the persecution doesn't have anything to do with your race, religion, nationality, political opinion, or membership in a particular social group. Because remember, it is it's not enough just to show that you've been persecuted or that you will be or that you likely will be persecuted in the future. You also have to show what they call a nexus to a protected ground, which means that you have to convince the asylum officer that the reason, the motivation behind the persecution is the fact that you, asylum seeker, possess or have one of the 5 protected characteristics. And it's one of those 5 things about you that the bad guys don't like that's causing them to want to harm you. And that can be a hard thing to do. And in Colombian cases, very often they're like, no, this just has to do with like drugs or money or land. And therefore it's not one of those 5 things. So you don't win asylum. Okay. That's why it's hard. All right. Is a mandamus lawsuit, good question. The question is this: will filing a mandamus lawsuit make it more likely that you're going to get arrested, detained by ICE when you show up for your asylum interview? No, absolutely not. Look, we filed something like 200 of these lawsuits in the last couple of years, and we've never had someone get detained at their asylum interview or before or after it because of the mandamus lawsuit. Or let me rephrase that. We've never had someone for whom we've filed a mandamus lawsuit get detained at all, ever. Okay, so no, filing a mandamus lawsuit will not make it more likely that you're going to get detained. No, absolutely not. I say that with high confidence. It also will not negatively impact your underlying asylum case. In other words, it will not make it, harder to win. Absolutely not. I say with high confidence, based on my experience, both as a former asylum officer with the government and now as an asylum lawyer. I'm telling you, I believe strongly that suing to get your interview will in no way negatively affect your underlying asylum case. The sooner you get your interview, the better your chances for success. That's why we do mandamus lawsuits, because people are sick of waiting. They want to get certainty and confidence around their future. They want to win their case so they can move on with their lives. So they want to hire us for mandamus, but also it makes it more likely, in my opinion, that you will win your underlying asylum case, because the sooner you get your interview, the better your chances for success, in my opinion, based on my experience. All right. What's the site for the preparation? MOR wants to know. Asylumprep.com. That's where you can learn about our asylum preparation services, our program. We call it the mock asylum interview experience. Here's what it consists of. First, we're going to do a 2-hour mock interview, a full-scale practice interview, where you're going to go through and experience basically everything you're going to experience on the day of the real interview. That way, when you go to the real interview, you feel like you've already been there. You feel like you've already been there and done that, and that gives you confidence. It makes you feel comfortable and calm and ready to tell your story, explain your case, answer hard questions with confidence, okay? So a 2-hour practice interview, and then a day or 2 or 3 later, we'll do a 30-minute follow-up session, what we call a debrief session, where we give you feedback. We explain how you did and tell you what you could do better to better explain yourself and better answer the questions, okay? And then also, we're going to give you what we call a personalized asylum study toolkit, where we give you recordings of those 2 practice sessions, the video recording, the audio recording, and a transcript and a summary of the practice sessions, so that you can keep reviewing those things and keep benefiting from the practice sessions up until the day of your real interview, okay? And then I'm also going to give you, for people who, for a limited time, we're offering access to some additional trainings that I've created that are exclusive, that aren't available anywhere else, for people who sign up right now for the mock asylum interview experience. And you can find out all about this at asylumprep.com, ASYLUMPREP.com, asylumprep.com. Okay. All right. Is North Carolina good to have your asylum case heard? For affirmative asylum, it's okay, because your case will be with the Arlington Asylum Office up in Virginia, and that's a pretty good office comparatively. For cases in immigration court, it's not good. The immigration courts in North Carolina have a low approval rate, unfortunately. All right. Libres Le Pupil wants to know, how long does it take for the government or USCIS to give you an asylum interview after the mandamus lawsuit or delay lawsuit's filed? Good question. The question is this: how long will it take to get your asylum interview scheduled after you sue the government using a mandamus lawsuit? We love this tool. Our clients love it because it works. We're talking about suing the government with what's called a mandamus lawsuit to force them to finally give you your interview when you've been waiting for years. And I can tell you, I recently looked up this statistic actually within my firm, and on average, our clients received the interview notice, which is the letter that says, okay, we've scheduled your interview. They've received that interview notice 77 days after we submitted the lawsuit. 77 days, okay? So between submitting the lawsuit and getting the interview notice that says, hey, interview scheduled, on average for our clients where we've done the lawsuit, the mandamus lawsuit, it's been 77 days, okay? It works. It works. Look, past results don't guarantee future success, but I can tell you, we filed over 200 of these lawsuits and we haven't lost one yet. Okay. That doesn't guarantee it's going to be successful in your case or any particular case. It doesn't guarantee anything, but I think it's worth mentioning to stress and to make the point that it can be a very, very effective tool to finally get your stalled asylum case unstuck, to move your case forward so you can finally get your interview, win your case, and move forward with certainty about your future. All right. If you want to learn about that, about the process, what it's like, and see if we think we can help you with it, please schedule a consultation. It all starts with a consultation. Go to winasylum.com, WINASYLUM.com, winasylum.com. All right. That's it for today, guys. I'm Brian Manning. I'm an asylum lawyer and former asylum officer. My law firm helps immigrants all over the country. It doesn't matter where you are. We help people all over the country to secure their future in America through asylum. Okay. If you want to talk with us, please go to winasylum.com to schedule a consultation. Again, that's winasylum.com. That's it for today. Look forward to seeing all of you very soon in the next live. Thank you for being with us. And look, as always, it really is a pleasure and honor to support you in your asylum journey. So thank you and have a great day, everyone. Bye, guys. LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube.